Hello there, welcome to yet another podcast of Soft Stories, State of the Art Brandings. Today we are privileged to have with us Chaitanya Chinchlikar, Vice President at Whistling Woods International, one of Asia's leading premier film institutions. Welcome to the podcast, Chaitanya.
Good to be here, Suresh. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And you made it in spite of the holiday break and all that, so we really kind of value your time.
No, happy to be here.
Thanks so much. Over 2 decades, Chaitanya now, right, in creative sector, education, consulting. Obviously, you do other parts as well in terms of public policy and all that. In all this, years of experience and interacting with people and communicating, when did you get that feeling that I need to connect through my stories, whether you're selling yourself, your ideas, or anything else, before anything else? The power of feelings in your story, in your communication. When did you get that realization?
Kind of twice it has happened. The first time was inadvertent, and we realized only post facto that we were doing that, right? So Whistling Woods came up in 2006. Now, a private institution of that quality and scale in the media and entertainment industry had never happened in the history of the country. There was no precedent, there was no roadmap. So we were all doing what we felt best. So it was, yes, there was a significant amount of professional management, but a lot of it was instinct, and a lot of it was, this feels like the right way to go about it, right? And oftentimes most people don't understand, it's the hardest thing to explain to parents and students and the industry at large as to why you're doing things the way you're doing, right? So for the first 3 or 4 years, everything kind of was, even we weren't sure whether is this going to work out, is this the way it's going to happen, or like startups use the famous word, we would have to pivot. Right? Thankfully, we never had to. Though we had to make minor turns here and there. But what happened was in 2010, Whistling Woods got rated as one of the top 10 film schools in the world. And it was a surprise for us. I mean, we had no idea this was happening. Apparently, the person who wrote the piece had come to campus posing as a parent, and I'd walked around and had interacted with everybody, and we didn't know he was a journalist, obviously. So we treated them how we would treat a parent, right? And then suddenly this thing appeared, and this was in THR, the Hollywood Reporter, and back then it carried significantly more weight than it carries now, the print version, because print absolutely was like the big deal. Big deal then, right? So that then led us to start thinking about, okay, what are we doing? And more importantly, how do we tell this story? So it was almost like we reverse engineered what we were doing into understanding what was the narrative that we were conveying through our actions. So once we understood that, we were like, acha, this is what we were saying, this is what it means, this is what. And then we continued to use that, go down to those first principles of basically no compromises and zero adherence to status quo. Unless we are evaluating each and every action that the school does, literally on a 6-month or a yearly basis, we are not doing our job. So as a culture, if you're working at Whistling Woods, it is exhausting. But that's the only way that you continue to build quality, and you continue to do that, right? And that narrative of embrace exhaustion, never be, you can never be comfortable with status quo, right?
Satisfied in being dissatisfied.
Almost, sense, right? Not dissatisfied so much, but curious, right? So, this whole thing that, status quo is a comfortable place where nothing grows. And being reasonable is the surest, swiftest path to mediocrity. तो ये culture है. अब इसको आपको narrative, you have to build this into your narrative, not just for students and parents, but also for future employees of Whistling Woods. So this was kind of, I would say, the first
So multiple
storytelling.
audiences you were addressing actually.
Correct. This is the first storytelling audience that we had, right? And it was very, very easy to identify where it was landing. So Whistling was a very unique institution where at the end of the first year, we actually have a 5 to 6% dropout rate. But after the first year, it's 0. Not 0%, 0. Nobody drops out. Nobody fails out. At the end
That's
of the
part of the 4-year program?
3-year, 4-year, 2-year, everything, right? So the first semester and the second semester is where the most number of dropouts/failures happen. And after that, it's literally 0. And we understood why that is, because the only if you are willing to put in that level of work as a student can you survive in the institute. And that is symbolic of only if you can put in that level of work you can survive in the industry. This is not an industry where you can do it just as a job. You cannot, right? There has to be that fire burning inside, because every day you have to be creative on demand, or you have to do something which is almost never done before, which is unique, which is almost, I mean, I don't like to use, but I mean, it's almost revolutionary, right? But without, in the, different
metaphorically
sense.
speaking.
Yeah, in different sense, right? And you can only do that if there is fire inside. So you can't wake up one morning and say, अच्छा मुझे advertising करना है, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So वो अंदर से आग आनी चाहिए. तो वो convey करने के लिए, in order to convey that to students, parents and employees also, they either get it or they don't. If they don't get it, they're gone in 6 months. If they get it, they're yours for life, right? So, and same thing with employees, same thing with people who work at Whistling Woods. They either don't survive their 6-month probation or they're there for 10 years. So that culture, that storytelling of the culture of the institute is the first one. The second one was to understand why is the Indian media and entertainment industry different, and accept the fact that we are different, and then try and try and get the story of why we are different. We are the only free market in the world which has a large English speaking market audience, but we have still beat back Hollywood. Many, many years ago, Spain used to make 4 times the number of films they make today. France, Italy, Japan,
Korea,
UK,
Iran.
No, UK, Australia, they used to make many more films. Now, then what started to happen is Hollywood started to expand and they started to throw great quality content at these markets and acquire market share without having to invest in those markets. So the best talent from Spain today sits in LA. The best Canadian talent, the best Australian talent, Russell Crowe, Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman, Margot Robbie, they all live in LA. Salma Hayek, Pedro Almodovar, all of them, Guillermo Navarro, Inarritu, they're all there. So what they did was they acquired market share in those countries and they vacuumed out the best talent. So now the hub for Spanish filmmaking, not Spanish filmmaking, the hub for the most number of films that run in Spain actually is LA. So after we liberalized, Hollywood thought they could do that with India as well, because we became a free market. There were no restrictions on how many Hollywood films could release. And it never happened. Except for 1 year where Avengers Endgame released, Hollywood's market share in India has never gone above 10% of cinema box office collections. And
in spite of the quantum of movies being increased.
Yeah. Hollywood makes about 300 films a year. I think in India they release on an average I would say 100 films at least. Despite that, market share has never gone above 10% of India's box office, except for 1 year when Avengers Endgame came, right? So a lot of it was we have to understand why, and then we have to get the story, because everything at the end of it is all about, and it's all narrative, it's all story, right? So then you understand that our narrative structure is different. We don't have genre content. We don't have narrow genre specific
We're not
content.
slivered.
We are not, right? So if you look at a horror film, say in America, there'll be very little other than horror. If you have a rom-com in the US, there'll be nothing other than drama and romance, maybe a little bit comedy. But in India, in a horror film, there will be a song, right, where somebody will be dancing around some tree. And our films have everything, सब कुछ है. No, there is romance भी है, tragedy भी है, comedy भी है, sex भी है, violence भी है, सब कुछ है. So where does that come from? That comes because it's hardwired into our DNA, because it comes from the Natya Shastra and the Rasa theory and the conflict of the 9 emotions. Which is why we don't have narrow genre specific content. Now, in order to explain this story to people, you have to understand that. Now, and along with this, then everything emerges from that. Right? The way we do games, the way we do film, the way we do animation, the way we do music. Right? Our music is, yes, there is a lot of harmony, but it's primarily melody. Melody, there is no structure. Harmony, there is a structure. Right? Melody there is no structure. So, how do you explain this to a German? If you want to have global students, you have to be able to explain this to a German. So it's not so much about difference, it's about unique. We are unique. Historically, there are only 3 markets in the world that have successfully beat back Hollywood: China, Hong Kong, Latin America, and India. All these 3 markets are growing faster than Hollywood and have been ever since, right? 30 years at least. So China is, because of it's a closed market.
Yeah.
They only allow
controlled market.
They only allow X number of films to release, right? Latin America is a language thing. India doesn't have either of those 2 problems. So we are very exceptionally unique. So you have to ये story बताना है. अब दूसरा इसका जो backend आता है कि because of this history, it is hardwired into our DNA, so it has to be a part of our life, because it is a part of our life. Nach Gana, as it's called, is part of our existence. There are songs in every culture and subculture and regional culture in India, from the time where the couple falls in love to the time they get married, to the time the woman is pregnant, to the time the baby is delivered, to the time the baby comes home for the first time, the baby is born, the baby's birthday, the baby's first birthday, there is a song and a whole narrative tradition and entertainment thing for when the girl gets her first period. So it is hardwired into our culture so much, how can it not be part of our education? So then is the education story, which also flows from this.
So what you're saying actually is that we come with an intrinsic advantage because of our culture, values, all that.
If you recognize it.
We recognize it, because it obviously calls for introspection, because sometimes we miss the wood for the trees, right?
Correct.
Right. So I think we have the potential to be great storytellers. It's up to us to kind of realize yeah. And in today's parlance, they call it optimize it or whatever it is. But having the storytelling as part of the, as you mentioned, DNA is table stakes. And that's what probably the Whistling Woods story is also.
Is also about. It's very...
We are distilling it, we're kind of fanning it, we're kind of giving it.
Because all of us, none of us were quote unquote educators. Shivaji is a filmmaker who has actually launched a lot of new people, so does understand mentoring and does understand all that. Meghna is his daughter, who's the president, who's actually set a lot of this culture. she really holds this well. She's a marketing graduate, right? Our current director academics is a former investment banker. I started my career with Arthur Andersen, which is Accenture now, and I moved here. So a lot of it is just instinct. It's very, and we have been able to really take the education aspect and marry it to this understanding of culture. And then you take one step back, and then you ask yourself, why don't we have foundational education in creative and performing arts in our school curriculum in India? 60% historically, 60% of our school curriculum is science and maths. 25% is languages, 15% of social studies. Where is creative and performing arts? If it's so hardwired into our DNA that our content telling structure is completely different from the rest of the world.
They've recently added A very condescendingly to STEM.
No, I mean, I don't even want it to be part of STEM.
No, what I'm, because exactly the question that you raised, right?
So
arts has come into that.
What should have happened was 25% of your high school education should be foundational education in creative and performing arts. 25%. 25% should be science and maths. 25% should be languages. 25% should be social studies, in which civics should be more important than history. It's always used to be ulta, which is stupid, right?
70 and 30 or something like that.
80, whatever, right? Civics should be like 99%.
Our civic sense would improve, hopefully.
Exactly. At least somebody will read their constitution. And 25% should be foundational education in creative and performing arts. Historically, it's been put in extracurricular. The moment you call it extracurricular, you're telling a school, an authority figure, is telling the parent and the student, this is not important.
Optional.
So the moment you don't understand what it represents, what it means, right? So why is the Natya Shastra called the fifth Veda? You have to understand it's as important, right? Why are almost all our epics written in poetry form, right? Very few are written in prose. One of the greatest pieces of mathematics ever written is a poem written by Bhaskaracharya, and he named it after his daughter Leelavati because he's trying to explain complicated mathematical theorems to her, and he explained it in poetry form and he called it Leelavati. If you actually read Leelavati, obviously I don't read Sanskrit, so yet I'm learning. But if you read the English translation, it's exceptionally complicated maths theorems. So he's trying to teach his daughter mathematics. So this is, it's not only something you should learn, it's the water on which the boat should float. And we've been, for many years, ever since Macaulay showed up, we've been trying to row a boat in the river without the water. Obviously you're going to go nowhere, right? So thankfully now in the last, I would say, 4 or 5, 6 years, that water has started to flow into the river. Right now, NCERT is made theatre arts mandatory in grade 8. Now there is 30% interdisciplinary, which is inclusion of foundational education, creative and performing arts, is now part of the national education policy as for 2020, which is kind of been operationalized in the last few years, right? So the students that will come out of high school 10 years from now, 12 years from now, see that those are the ones who will basically, can you imagine, there'll be like this massive springboard in front of them, which will take them generations above what I came out as a high school graduate. I was clueless. I had no idea, right, about anything. And I mean, there are so many examples around you of great storytelling. And this was a revelation for me as well. The #1 city in India for anime fans is Patna, followed by Varanasi. And first time I'm like,
Is there a correlate? What is the
I'm like, what? Really? And then I looked at the data. I looked at the downloads. I looked at the views. Yes, it is Patna. And then I was like, damn, I'm even half those people must not be even knowing what Madhubani is. And Madhubani is 5 minutes away from Patna. Why is that? See, if you want your content to go global, there are two ways, right? You can manicure it to go global. Hollywood is a great example of how content is well manicured to go global, right? I mean, Shrek, and this is first-hand knowledge from somebody who was part of the team that made Shrek. Originally, Shrek was based in the south of the US. He was a redneck. And then they realized that दुनिया को समझ में नहीं आएगा redneck क्या है. They won't really get it, right?
Absolutely.
But it's an ogre. So still has to be a rough race. Can't make him Spanish because, they're too suave. Or, Italian. You can't, right? So they said, okay, Scottish. Rough race, right? So they were able to get Mike Myers' voice in. So they had a whole new set of people who were willing to consume Shrek. Then they said, acha, now, okay, what do we do? So, we need to have diversity. So then, and again, sounds very racist, but okay, let's bring in Eddie Murphy and as Donkey. Oh, but we can't leave out the Latino. We need to get Latin, that part, Latin America and Spain and all. Okay, so let's bring in Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. Oh, but you can't leave out white America. So, okay, Cameron Diaz is the girl ogre, girl ogre, right? And film was a super hit. There were 16 different edits of Shrek, which went out all over the world. Minor cuts here and there, minor differences here. How would an Indian respond in this case? How would a Chinese respond? How would this one respond? Okay, thoda ek dialogue change karo, thoda edit karo, do this, do that, do this. This is a very, very well manicured product. Because in that writer's room, there was an Indian, there was a Turk, there was a Latin American, there was Americans, there were people from all over the country, all over the world. That is one way to do about it. The other way is what anime does, which is that it is so rooted, it is so uncompromising of the culture that it is based in, that the emotion just bursts through. It transcends this language and culture barrier. And whoever watches it, that purity and that rootedness, it just bursts through the content. You've seen it in so many places. Parasite, right? I mean, depressing film, but okay, right? Well, it really
nominated or got the award.
It won. But I mean, it really shone through. On Netflix, there's a small little film called Roma. Right? Not small that way, but when it started as a chotu little film, it went to win like loads of awards. It's about a film about a small town on the Mexican border. But the filmmaker comes from there. So it comes through in that. Take great example, Lunchbox. Completely uncompromising. Right? In that culture, the Mumbai Dabba culture. It shows, it broke through. Maharta Narasimha breaks through. RRR breaks through. RRR did zero to manicure itself to go global. Did nothing. Had two men dancing. Right? So, ये जो story है ना, या आपकी story हो, या आप, or you either have a story or you have the ability to craft a story. So to take, now this, what I've explained in the last 5 minutes, this is just the seed. What we have to try and do is enable students to actually take this seed and then go out into the world and plant it so that the Indian content story grows, right? And it's exceptionally hard. And honestly, I would say that has been our biggest success, that we've been able to do this, that we have almost 4,000 alumni now out in the Indian and the world markets who are doing this, who are working, right? And yeah, it will take some time for it to grow, but
Yeah.
I would say this has been it.
Chaitanya, you spoke about manicuring of content, right? Do you think, and this is a question that I'm asking with reasonable amount of sensitivity, do you think that as creators slash consumers, which we all are now in the prosumer world, are we over-indexing on visibility vis-a-vis intent, feelings, and under-indexing on feelings, intent? Is there a mismatch that you see there?
Not really. I mean, you have to decide what is the end goal of the content you're making. So most people confuse the vertical video Instagram reels as the creator industry. It's not the creator economy. It is the attention economy. The goal of the piece of content is to get attention. It has achieved its goal. Quality of the content be damned. उसका गोल ही attention लेना है. Right?
The scarcest social currency today.
I mean, every year I go to Vegas. I'm in April there for NAB, and you walk around Vegas. So you go to Fremont Street. There's people doing all kind of silly things on the road. Their goal is to get attention and get enough attention where they can show you their whatever art whatever they want to show you and get money. That's the goal. Right? There's nothing wrong with that content. My problem is people judging that and not understanding what that is. So, as long as people understand that there's different kinds of content meant for different platforms, for different people to consume in order to get X reaction, you should be fine with it. So there is, I mean, it's when you try to kind of force fit the virtues of one piece of content onto another piece of content, right? I get very annoyed when people make fun of Indian TV soap operas without really understanding the milieu in which those exist, right? 96% of India is a single TV owning household. The whole family is watching it together. In that half an hour, there's a doorbell ringing, Amazon is delivering something asking for OTP, some two kids are fighting somewhere, one of them is broken something, one is banged something on the other one's head, there is food being made, there is food being served, maybe it's been eaten. At some point of time, somebody from the family of 4, 5, 6 people, is not sitting in front of the TV. They're doing something. The first thing they do when they come back and sit on their chair, ask the person sitting next to them, "Kya hua?" That person should be able to tell in 30 seconds "Kya hua" without breaking the story. That is the goal. So in a 30-minute episode, 8 minutes is ads, 22-minute content, actual content is only 12 to 14 minutes. Why is that? Ekta Kapoor is not dumb. Ekta Kapoor is one of the smartest humans I have ever met. Right? I don't know how many people have met her, but she's incredibly intelligent and she has an incredible sense of the pulse of common Indians who are very different in socio-economic class from where she is. She has an incredible ability to get that pulse, right? So if this incredibly smart person is making this kind of content for decades now, at least 2.5 decades, I don't get it. Why are you dissing it? You don't understand it. It is not your sensibility. That's fine. I mean, if like, I'm a West Wing. According to me, the greatest show ever made is the West Wing. So if I go with my West Wing sensibilities to watch Nagin or whatever, right, it's never going to work. I need to understand what that sensibility is and why that is made. Right? Every single kind of content has its own what you call first principles. And people as consumers, now it's nobody's fault that it's our industry's fault. We haven't educated the people enough. I haven't explained to this 30-something-year-old techie earning 10 lakhs a year, who's in the top 1 percentile of India's socio-economic class, why that content is made the way it is.
You're expected to understand. That's it. Nothing
No,
else.
he should have been taught in school.
Yeah.
Just like they understand कि boss 10 minute delivery में क्यों 20 minute लगते हैं कभी-कभी, right? Yeah, whatever, any other aspect. So once, and again, all boils down to education. If it's a part of your life, it's part of your upbringing, it's a part of everything, then you naturally understand ऐसा क्यों है. So all kinds of content has its place, has its
Especially in the long tail era, yeah.
in any area, in any era. Cinema is captive community viewing. It has its own content characteristics. You are in a dark room, it's a captive community viewing. Community viewing carries with it its own virtues. Even if 5% of the theatre laughs at a joke, it is funny. It's never possible in OTT. Right? You've paid in advance. Unless the film is really, really bad, you will not walk out. Right?
OTT you can switch off.
So now the phone hai, so people start playing on their phones, but then somebody from the back will yell, "Arey, phone band karo," because that person is interested in the film,
Right,
actually.
right.
TV is non-captive family viewing, which is why the structure is the way it is. Right? Digital is non-captive individual viewing. For the first time in history of the world, you are not being judged for what you watch. Otherwise, if you're watching cinema or you're watching TV, you are still being judged. If you go with your family for a film that has a couple of raunchy scenes, you're a little bit uncomfortable. Right? Same thing with TV. So, digital, not being judged. Nobody is judging you. So, there is a viewer for all kinds of content. So, people who are content creators have much more flexibility in pushing the envelope. And people who are judging these people for pushing the envelope don't understand that it's a voluntary thing. उनको नहीं देखना है मत देखो. YouTubers, creators economy has its own virtues, has its own fundamentals. The attention economy has its own fundamentals. Right? So your vertical video micro dramas is attention economy. It is not. You can't have the same rules that are applied for cinematic storytelling to vertical video microdramas. I mean, it's hilarious. So, this is really where the thing is, that people just need to understand there's all kinds of content.
So going back, one of the things that I've been actually kind of telling a lot of people, especially institutions there back home, is that DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion, don't tell people in 25 and 30 when they're already well beyond that impressionable age and they become adults and exposed and educated. DEI should be a K-12 play. They should be taught from grade KG to grade 12 or whatever it is. It will be all the through, right? So similarly, what you're actually articulating is that this aspect of understanding culture and therefore such a story being told, therefore because there is such a potential and there is an audience for all types of content, and it is also merging beautifully with the fact that now we are all prosumers because we create as well as consume content, whatever it is. So we need to probably turn back the clock in terms of reducing the demographic target, you mean to say?
No, I mean, so when it comes to DEI, my thinking about it is actually very different. So Whistling would start in 2006. 2013 is when we affiliated with the university to start offering degrees, TIS. That is when we realized यार हमारे application form में sex का column ही नहीं था 2006 से 2013 तक. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? तुम लड़का हो लड़की हो, तुमको एडिटर प्रोमो कट करने को आता है ना, बस काम मिलेगा.
राइट
राइट. तुम बॉय हो गर्ल हो क्या है, एवरीबडी होल्ड्स कैरीज द सेम लाइट. लाइट उतना ही भारी है सबके लिए, सबका आंख में फोकस वैसे सेम होता है. So my thing with DI is actually completely on the other side. I said then don't even talk about it. If you don't talk about it, the natural goal is not the right word. The natural instinct of reaching out and communicating and aligning, which exists in every human, let that take over. The moment you say अच्छा तुम ये हो, तुम वो हो, इसलिए हम ये चौथा वाला है, इसको हमको लेना है अंदर, तुम अदर कर रहे हो, उधर ही से अदरिंग चालू होता है. तुम कुछ मत बताओ किसी को. देखो सब चारों कैसे खेलते हैं फील्ड पे. फर्स्ट स्टैंड में किसी को बताना पड़ता है क्या कि यार वो ठीक है अंग्रेज है, लॉट्स ऑफ गोरा पीपल, लॉट्स ऑफ Caucasian studying in India. You don't have to tell an Indian kid to play with the white kid in school. You don't have to tell them that. Same thing out there, right? So actually the less you talk about DEI, the more it actually implements itself.
Yeah, so my question
automatically.
is coming from a place of the fact that a lot of us are talking about it. How do you counter that was my question.
Just stop talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, I think a lot of people, should not be part of that tick list. I must talk about it to address it. It is best addressed unspoken.
Correct. And it's already happening. By the time you hit your age of whatever, 6, 10, हो गया है, kid is already inclusive. बस बच्चे का गोल है मेरे को मजा करना है.
Right.
किधर से भी मजा है. Right? It doesn't matter. So it could be your own brother, it could be your cousin, but if that person is a bore, you will play with the next door neighbor. That person may be from whatever, Zimbabwe. Who cares?
Right.
In fact, both of you will team up and beat up your younger brother because boring hai.
Right.
So just let that natural urge for, see, we are natural born storytellers. If we are able to wrap our head around the situation, community, technology of the times, हमको story बतानी है. Cave man, woman जो भी था उस time पे, उन्होंने जो drawing किया है, वो story है.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is controversial. I don't think that was actually real, what was happening. I think that is their version of Marvel. See, a woolly mammoth is 100 feet tall, 80 feet tall at least. Back then humans were 4 feet tall because evolution हो रहा था. 4 foot tall का वो 100 feet वाले को मारेगा क्या? थोड़ा dicey लग रहा है मुझे. I'm like, boss, I think all this भाले वाले मार के वो killing the woolly mammoths and all those stories, all that is fake according to me. वो जैसे हम अभी पिक्चर में दिखाते मैट्रिक्स में नियो ऐसे करके बुलेट रुका रहा है, होता है क्या असली में? नहीं होता है ना. तो वो उस टाइम का पिक्चर है वो. Like I said, that's just me.
No, absolutely. I mean,
because people want to have fun all the time. I'm sure those people when they were drawing it, they must be thinking, यार अगले मेरे जब 10,000 साल बाद जब लोग देखेंगे इसको, let's confuse them. So let's. I'm sure they had a sense of humor.
Right.
So they are like, हाँ चलो मस्ती करते हैं उनके साथ.
That aspiration, taking flight maybe at that time.
Who knows? Right? Who knows? Like Superman, nobody can fly, but we all love Superman. Right. So maybe he was Superman of the time. Kya pata?
Right, absolutely. I think that helps me segue into the next question, because you've been hands-on, up front and center in media, technology, now with emerging technologies, AI and all of that. Is there an apprehension? I suspect it shouldn't be. Is there an apprehension that amidst all of this, we might lose the soul of storytelling?
as much apprehension as everybody thought there would be when celluloid became digital. Um, see, if you look at content creation, it happens there are three parts to it, right? There is the creative core, which has not changed since the beginning of time. Right? So the narrative fundamentals have not changed because they are all based on either the study of the mind, right, which is cognitive, or in the study of our senses. How we perceive color, what impact does it have on us, study of the mind, right? Immersion, narrative traditions, ways of seeing, color theory, blah, 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 all those things, right? You still have to understand the fundamentals of narrative storytelling. Second is the workflow, which is how do I take the story that I want? What is the mechanism with which I communicate this story to the world? Because if a story is inside your head, it is as good as not having a story. It's a waste. A story that's only inside the creator's head is a wasted story.
Right.
It's just generally pointless, whatever. So the workflow. And the third are the tools that are part of the workflow. Now, ever since we have been making content, almost every 10 years, your workflow completely changes. It changes slowly, and then every 5 years there is one big, and then every 10 years it looks unrecognizable from what it was 10 years ago. Tools literally change every day. So if you take this fundamental, AI is creating a parallel pathway to both workflow and tools to what exists right now. Right now also there isn't one pathway, there are many. Like the way, the process, the workflow of creating animated content is very different from creating live action content.
Yeah.
Right? Even in live action content, how you would shoot fiction is very different from non-fiction. So AI is just another workflow. Now, there is a perception that it's easy, and that perception has been sold by the AI tech companies who have created the AI tools because they want you to buy credits and use it. It is not easy. It is very difficult. Right? If you don't have a great, deep understanding of the unchanging creative core, AI is completely useless to you because तुम prompt में लिखोगे क्या? What will you put?
Right.
Right? And like everybody thinks they can wake up one morning and suddenly use AI to make films, oh my God, they are on drugs. If they think that is going to happen. Right? It's like saying, oh, I can wake up one morning and be a psychologist. No, you can't. It needs years and years of study. It needs self-reflection. It needs observation skills. You need to understand the world. You know, so we are very, very, very far away from AI having genuine cognition. Right now what it has is it has the appearance of cognition. There is no cognition.
So it is not going to trespass into the soul being lost or...
How does original creation happen? So if I'm writing something, there's one part of what one part which is actually not original. So everything that I've seen, heard, watched or read sits in my memory center. But actually it's not just everything I've seen, heard, watched or read. Because I'm human, there is something called life experiences. So like my childhood sporting hero was Kapil Dev. So I remember the feeling I had when I met Kapil Dev for the first time. So in my head, the information of a child meeting their sports hero is not devoid of that feeling, which is called life experiences. For everybody is different. and different pieces of information are married to different feelings of life experiences, right? So in my head, in my memory center, it is everything I've seen, heard, watched or read married with my lived experiences. This masala, when I want to create something original, this masala is then passed through the imagination center of my mind to create something that seems original.
Yeah, some wise man had said that nothing is original, right? It's all a...
No, it is original because imagination, lived experiences are original because they're unique to me. Right? Now, yes, many people can have the same lived experience, similar lived experience, not same, similar lived experiences, but each lived experience is unique to the individual. AI doesn't have lived experiences and it doesn't have an imagination center. It has a perception of modifying existing content that it has seen, heard, watched or read, right? So until that cognition part, you call it human, call it soul, call it whatever, until AI develops that or is able to replicate that, is able to create a replica, a mirror, whatever you want to call of that, it can never do actual creation in our way. It has its own path of creation. The people who will be able to use it best understand that path. They'll be able to use it best. But still there will continue to be people who will say, nahi, mera nahi, it's not for me. Right? Now it's stupid if you say that it's not for you because you don't want to work hard to learn it. That's stupid. It's also stupid for you to behave like a Luddite and say, nahi, hum ye nahi, ye hamara nahi hai, right? Whatever, all this nonsense a lot of people do. So, जो नया दौर में था, where Dilip Kumar has a race with a motor car with his tanga, and people shouldn't do that. I mean, it's a great film, and I love Dilip Saab, but that was stupid. Right? That was weird socialism, communism, whatever else gone amok, run amok with weird mix of Ludditism. So AI is not going to take anybody's job, but a person using AI will take the job of a person not using AI, for sure, guaranteed. तो इंटरनेट के साथ भी हुआ, कंप्यूटर के साथ भी हुआ, right? अब you decide whether you want to embrace this world or you want to run the other direction. Want to run the other direction, become a plumber. AI will not affect your job. Plumbing is good money now.
Right.
Oh, if you book on Urban Company, Urban Clap, 350 रुपया per visit मिलता है तुमको plumber का, बनो तुम plumber. अगर तुमको तुम्हारा कॉल सेंटर जॉब AI खा रहा है, तुमको नहीं AI अडॉप्ट करना है, करो. See, it's I mean, I'm being facetious, but you have to move with the times, and it's, according to me, it's a great tool. It benefits the industry in multiple ways. Say if you look at visual effects, right? Rotoscopy. Rotoscopy, there's a construction site across the road. There's one little boy, not little, but person taking ghamela on the head with the mitti,
Right.
walking. Rotoscopy is the digital equivalent of that. No human being should ever have to do that, ever. Should have ever had to do that. Right? It was cleaning up shit, basically. I am glad AI is doing it. I am glad AI is doing it. So human beings can actually apply their mind to some kind of storytelling. Rotoscopy is the worst kind of gada majuri. ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. No human should ever had to fix spelling mistakes on their own. है ना Microsoft वो underline आता है, हाँ मस्त एकदम, no problem. Oh, but you will never know what the right spelling of the word is. Yes, I will. I know it's underlined. I know this is wrong. Oh, but you should know on its own. Why? Like when we were children, everybody knew the 13 table, 19 ka table also. Till 20, everybody knew all tables. Nobody knows now.
Tables have turned probably.
Correct, right? So, I mean, I was like close school friend of mine. He does live in India. So uska bacha school jata hai. School mein they have decided to replace all clocks with digital watches, right? Digital clocks, all gold clocks with digital clocks. And this guy was like freaking out, saying, why are they spoon feeding the kids? What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. You know, how the kids can't tell time, ye wo. I'm like, kya problem hai? Oh, but they should know how to tell time. I said, why? That design is based on the fucking sundial. Do you use a sundial now? This whole round and 360 degree jayega, wo ghumega hand, right? Why? Unless there is a nuclear accident and an electromagnetic pulse that destroys all electronics from the entire world, there will be some functioning digital watch that you can set time from. And trust you me, if there is a nuclear explosion that all EMP and the whole world's electronics go away, you will have bigger problems than not knowing what the time is.
I know.
Right? It is time to die. So
we don't even know when we'll do that.
It doesn't matter, right? So a lot of this is just you are holding on to things without knowing why, right? So AI is like that. A lot of this panic, but I'll tell you. There's also the other side, right? All these AI tools bana rahe, ChatGPT, GPT, all that, they are all overselling themselves. They have all gone and made multi-billion-dollar investments, and they are shit scared that that it's not going to be as good as that they can make money off it. Right now, AI is a solution looking for a problem. So, as long as they oversell it, along with that, they will also oversell the fear. According to me, what they should do is they should just basically just let people use it on its own. They will start to use it.
Yeah. So certainly the scarcity mindset is not going to work, as Dr. Chaitanya would have mentioned. Right? There is so much of it available. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
No, besides the point, what you want to use it for is something that you have to decide. Right?
There is no prompt for that.
There is no prompt for that because वो अंदर से आना चाहिए.
Exactly.
Now you can create need. Steve Jobs did it perfectly. Right? Sorry, Sam Altman is not Steve Jobs. Good, whatever, he's good at what it is, but Steve Jobs is, even if he hadn't been part of Apple, he would have still been Steve Jobs, right? He was the one who was the status quo kabhi nahi, and being reasonable. I mean, people who work with him say that he was an exceptionally unreasonable man.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyway, coming back to that, तो AI मस्त है, उसको नौकर है, तुम्हारा बहुत अच्छी तरह उसको नौकर की तरह use करो. It is a servant, it is here to serve you, you please use it as a servant. उसको सर पे मत बिठाओ, उसको चढ़ाओ मत. Just use it as a fantastic tool. Right? Where I actually see the next emerging revolution coming from is actually not going to be in the world of bits. It's going to be in the world of atoms. See, there are two worlds. There is the physical world, mechanical, physical, what you want to call it, and there is the digital world. So in the last 20-25 years, there has been so much explosion in the world of bits, the world of zeros and ones.
The binary world.
But not really too much in the world of atoms, in the physical world. Thoda bhi Optimus and, with UAVs and thoda ho raha hai, right? It's, humanoid robots and some other self-driving cars and all that. I really want to see more, I really hope that we see some very, very interesting changes and upgrades and developments in the world of atoms. right? I would love to, I don't know, I mean, yes, I have some ideas, they're a little bit weird in my head right now, but I mean, classrooms are exactly the way they are. Education has not changed at all. Can we do something with it? I mean, I'm not saying you have to do something just for the heck of it, but क्या कर सकते हैं?
So somebody who's actually bringing out creators and storytellers and conceptualizers and all that, that is on the one hand. As you mentioned, naturally the intrinsic curiosity and the fire in the belly need to be there. That is one. The tools are always going to be there and you continue to get better, right? What is your, without wanting to make it seem like advice or whatever it is, based on your insights and experience, what would be your rallying cry to brand builders and brand storytellers, the do's and don'ts in terms of when they're trying to create something? Because some of them, as we all know, they spend crores and crores of rupees or multi-million dollars to create something. How does it land here? How does it land here?
So, like I said, there are two ways to make a story land. Either you do super micro manicuring, right? Or just have it so rooted that the natural humanity bursts through.
So when you say micro manicuring, sorry to interrupt, Chaitanya, any example that you want to share? Am I correct if I say
let's look at how Amazon sells itself versus how Netflix sells itself.
Okay.
Right? Netflix is all about the joie de vivre. It's all about the, right? Amazon is very, ये करने से ये मिलेगा, ये करने से ये मिलेगा, ये करने से ये मिलेगा. It's very utilitarian is actually not really right the word, but it's very, it's very transactional almost.
In the face and transactional.
Very almost transactional, right? Both work. So there is no one thing to this. तुमको जो ठीक होता है वो, right? Balaji will never be able to, like, okay, let me put it this way. If you try and sell a Raju Hirani film any other way than by saying it is a Raju Hirani film, it will not work as a brand strategy. All you need to do for a Raju Hirani film is say a Raju Hirani film, or in my case, because I've seen it so closely, a Subhash Ghai film. You don't need to say anything else, because the accumulation of their work is the brand. All you're doing is not generating brand recall.
You're just providing that nudge.
But for somebody else, you actually need to mount a campaign. So, I mean, oftentimes, like the next Rajamouli film, you don't have to do anything. Nothing. A Rajamouli film, that's it. Blank, kala, black background with the name of the film, a Rajamouli film. That full, house full. Advance booking 100%. Right?
So do you see that as a maker? I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the maker, like a Rajamouli. Will he be dictated or governed by the audience expectations of his empirical work, his past work, which means he has a challenge experimenting with something new?
Never.
Okay.
Right?
So, because it's very easy to play safe, right?
The reason why they got, again, depends what his goal for that film is. Maybe it's a placeholder film he's doing. Because यार 2 साल में घर पे नहीं बैठ सकता, मेरे को नया पिक्चर का आइडिया नहीं आ रहा है, चलो एक कर लेते हैं, ठीक ठाक भी निकलेगी तो भी चल जाएगा.
By standards, run of the mill, where it's fine by him.
If that is his goal, and he's allowed to have that goal, because you don't want to sit in the sit in his house and do nothing for 2 years while he gets the idea for the next film. Because, can take time. Things can take time. He will say, हाँ ठीक है, अच्छी पिक्चर है, ठीक ठाक है, कर लेते हैं. It's okay. Now, I'm not saying he will do that or A. Rajamouli do, but someone like that. There are so many. See, the other thing about content, right? And we'll come to that, but let me just finish this bit first. Depends what you want to get out of the film. If your goal is to maintain the plateau, you can maintain the plateau for as long as you want. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Even maintaining, if it's a very, very, very high plateau, maintaining a plateau is a big deal.
Oh yeah, of course.
Look at what David Hearn has done. From Raja Babu, all the way for 10, 12 years, he maintained that very, very high plateau. Very, very high plateau. So, that's fine. And then you have people who attempt things which don't really work out.
So that's the reason they go back to why upset the apple cart, right?
No, not even why upset the apple cart. They still do. Unki shiddat mein kami nahi aati. Nobody sets out to make a bad film.
Exactly.
Rakesh Mehra wasn't setting out to make a bad film when he made Mirzia. The film before Mirzia was Bhag Milka Bhag, which is outstanding. Ux was a fabulous film, which unfortunately didn't make too much money, ahead of its time.
Ahead of time.
Right? Rang De Basanti, script was floating around in the market, nobody wanted to touch it for 10 years. Rakesh Mehra comes in and blows everybody out of the water. Right? Delhi 6, again, good film, didn't make money. So, it's very same thing with shows, right? I mean, there are so many shows which just don't land, and there are so many shows which just kill it. Same maker.
Yeah.
So, it has every piece of content has its own kismat, life, whatever you want to call it, right? Nobody sets out to make a bad piece of content. What they want to achieve from that content may be different. Right? Same thing. So, I don't think any filmmaker ever will really make a piece of content or will ever really think about, oh, let me try and please my audience. They will want to make sure they don't let down their audience. So they will not be shoddy, they will not cut corners, they will not put in the hard work, they will not be lazy, they will not be lackadaisical, they will not compromise. They may not elevate every time, but these things they will make sure that they work hard.
Stakes, yeah.
They will work hard, right? Rohit Shetty works hard for all his films. So, and anyway, Rohit Shetty is another enigma. Now when it comes to content, a lot of the times people also, filmmakers, a lot of filmmakers, they think their job is to solve society's problems. It's not. Your job is to entertain me and give me my money's worth and my time's worth. And while doing that, if you are able to give me a message, that's a bonus. Then you are a great filmmaker. Right? That is your job. This fame that filmmakers, actors get leads them to think that they understand society. You don't understand shit.
They're in their ivory tower.
Until and unless you are willing to, you have spent that kind of time and really gone into the depths of society where you are interacting with people who are not interacting with you like you are a celebrity. until you've actually done that and you've put in that social time and that social effort, you don't understand the society. So please don't be narcissistic enough to think that you have the solution to all the society's problems. Please. और ये बहुत important है for everybody to understand, because what does naturally happen is you get told that as a filmmaker your job is to solve society's problems a lot. And most of them is by virtue signaling idiots who themselves don't have the ability to get 1 rupee out of the audience. So for us, it's also very important to explain to students that, boss, you are in the film industry. You are not a politician. You are not in governance. You are not in administration. You are not in the civil services. You are not in the police services. You are not a judge. You are not a jury or whatever, right? You are in the media and entertainment industry. Your job is to engage and entertain people for the time and money that you have asked from them. And it's across the world. It's for games, it's for animation films, it's for journalism. Journalism में झूठ मत बोलो, right? Film तो पूरा झूठ ही है, सब कुछ झूठ है, सच कुछ भी नहीं होता है उसमें.
Make believe, yeah.
Everything is fake, right? Journalism में please मत करो. So that is the other larger meta narrative conversation that I think we really need to have with students, to help them understand कि बस तुम्हारा goal क्या है. You decide what you want. You can say all I want to do for the rest of my life as a filmmaker is make slapstick comedy. No problem. You can have a career full of Delhi bellies. You can have a career full of Bombay boys. कोई problem नहीं है उसमें. I will show up for all your films and love them. If somebody wants to make 50 Go-Goa Gons in a 100-year filmmaking career, I would consider it a superlative success. Everybody doesn't have to make a Mege Dhakitara. Cannot. Right? Yes, you may want to do that and you want to achieve that level of cinematic genius. But don't judge yourself because you're not able to do a Pathir Panchali. Hello, 99.9999999% of the world cannot. Right? Or a Shatranj ke khiladi, whatever, right? Way. So, it's not necessarily a palatable concept to most people. A lot of people are still under that, we want to change the world, we should be socially responsible. Don't be socially irresponsible, but you don't have to be socially uplifting.
Right.
You can be socially entertaining. Right? So this, I think, is an important concept that people need to understand.
I think that's well articulated.
Parents also need to understand.
Yeah. I think there are stakeholders both internal and external in this actually.
And oftentimes what happens is the conversation around public morality obfuscates the real responsibility away from the family and the school to the filmmaker. Oh, you glorified rape, so now people are going outside and no. Oh, you showed misogyny, so people are being misogynistic. No. It's a representative of society.
Yeah.
Right?
It is from the ground up, not the other way around.
It's the family and the school that is supposed to teach values. Actually, not even the school. The school is just supposed to educate. The family is supposed to instill values. The school has to make sure they don't teach bad values. Right? They don't destroy what the family is teaching.
Right.
Right? So, don't shirk your responsibilities as a parent because, your child, you didn't raise them well enough for whatever. Right? So this is, and thankfully we are becoming as a society mature enough to understand this. that, yeah, I mean, yes, you know, there's lots and lots of, in a world there where, you know, homebound can exist, masti can also exist. There's nothing wrong with masti. It may not be your kind of content, it is somebody's kind of content. You know, when Alt Balaji when Balaji was still involved in Alt, the platform, there was a show called Gandhi Baat. Gandhi Baat, so I think when Balaji pulled out of Alt, I think Gandhi Baat was in his 6th season. 5th or 6th or 7th season, ऐसे कुछ था. So when it got towards the end of the 2nd season, I'm like, यार 3rd season greenlight कर लिया इन्होंने. Let me look at the stats. 46% of the viewership of season 1 and most of season 2. Season 2 का आखिरी का 2 एपिसोड का डेटा नहीं आया था, बट उसके पहले का सब आया था. Season 1 and most 80% of season 2, 46% viewership was female. 48% viewership was rural. So if you had to do a thing, it was smack bang in the middle of the grid. The mindset was, this is an urban male show. Turkey urban male show. 46% was female, 48% was rural. And back then, इतना मोबाइल प्रोलिफरेशन नहीं हुआ था रूरल इंडिया में. हुआ था, बट इतना नहीं हुआ था जितना अब हुआ है. Right? So, everybody who was trying to be a moral police around the show, like, what are you talking about? Your country is watching it. And it's your country. It's not some aliens are not watching it. Hey, people are from Mars. तो तुमको क्या प्रॉब्लम है? नहीं नहीं, बट उसमें ऐसे सॉफ्ट पॉर्न है. देख रहे हो तुम्हारा कंट्री सॉफ्ट पॉर्न, क्या प्रॉब्लम है तुमको? कर रहे हैं, एंजॉय करने दो. तो यू नो ये it's not palatable to everybody.
Right.
But it's important to say it.
Yeah, unless and until you say it. We do that with so many of the issues, right? You know, brushing it under the carpet seems to be.
And people don't understand freedom of expression.
Yeah.
When a person you hate says something you hate, only then freedom of expression counts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't count. Because if you like the person and you like what the person is saying, how does it matter? When a person you hate says something you hate, that is where freedom of expression counts. And those who say freedom of expression is a Western concept, the first adhyay of the Natya Shastra, the first adhyay, or the first, I think. So it starts with so Natya Shastra is told through a narrative, obviously. So it starts with a bunch of junior devs in heaven. They are doing a skit, a play for all the senior devs, right? And they are like bajaving Indra in the play, right? Full roasting, बहुत कुछ कर, वो बहुत गुस्सा हो जाता है कि ये क्या है, I am Indra, what the hell, this that, and वो उनको मारने के लिए आ जाता है. And then Brahma appears, shows up, and he draws a box around the stage, and he says, this is sacred ground. They can say whatever they want in this box. Whatever. You don't like it, you can leave. So, I don't know when the Natya Shastra was written, but at least 10,000 years plus, maybe more, 15,000 maybe. Freedom of expression is a 15,000-year-old concept in your country. So anybody who says that ये हमारा culture नहीं है घंटा, ये तुम्हारा culture है, And it's okay. Right? तुम नहीं अच्छा लगता तुमको प्रोटेस्ट करना है तुम प्रोटेस्ट करो, वो तुम्हारा फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन है. डेली वो फिल्म मेकर के घर के बाहर तुम प्लकार्ड लेके खड़े हो जाओ, डेली. अगर तुम 1000 लोग जमा कर सकते हो, 1000 लोग खड़े हो जाओ उसके घर के बाहर. You want that person not to make that kind of content again? Stand outside for 1000 days. 1001 day, that person will not make that kind of content. Right? So again, these are all, I mean, this is how you will change society as a filmmaker. If you are able to communicate this to people, right? Not by some other mechanism.
So in closing, what would you want to give as nuggets of actionable intelligence or wisdom for brand builders, storytellers, creators?
So quite a few actually. I mean, not quite a few. I don't want to sound pompous, but actually, wait, let me pull it out. I actually wrote something. At the end of each year, I try and put out क्या सीखा मैंने ये साल, right? What did I learn?
So you journal it, huh?
Kind of like throughout the year, I'm like, oh, okay, this thing happened. Okay, this is what it means. This is it. This is it. It almost becomes like a list of 8-10 revelations, if you want to use the word, right? So, two, I told you. So one, these two have been going on for the last 20 years, but literally on a monthly or a bi-monthly basis, it refreshes itself. So status quo is a comfortable place where nothing grows. Being reasonable is the surest, shortest and easiest path to mediocrity. Never try to impress those who don't respect your opinion. Being fine with being insulted is the surest way of losing your character. Never be fine with being insulted. When you stop letting people disrespect you, they start calling you difficult. So if you're being called difficult, ask yourself why. Right? You are not obligated to be associated with the people who make your life worse.
Certainly not.
Turn around, walk away. And I actually told that AI we spoke about, right? In the matter of AI only, so there are lots of these people who are kind of passing themselves off as AI experts. They are only going to make your life worse. So if you encounter someone who says, I am an AI expert, turn around and walk the other direction. Straight. Because that person is going to make your life worse.
Guaranteed.
So do not associate yourself with people who are going to make your life worse. Money can't buy you happiness, but you'd rather cry in a Mercedes than in an auto rickshaw.
That's true.
Right? We all have two lives. The real life starts when we realize we only have one.
Yeah.
And the last one is your feelings aren't facts. They're your feelings.
Yeah.
Know the difference. Right?
Absolutely.
So, this is just various experiences I've had. That as you kind of grow older, you have that ability to what just happened, right? What's going on? What did I feel? What went wrong? What went right? Why is it like that? So you thoda hota hai. Then I have a thing like a running WordPress blog where I just write down these things. At the end of the year, I say, "Acha, not bad, yaar. Bahut sare experiences mile." That is what
Absolutely.
Those are the experiences. But yeah, other than that, read all kinds of content, watch all kinds of movies, shows, whatever. Doom scroll less, but a little bit doom scrolling is okay, not too much.
Create more than you can consume, probably.
I don't know.
So it's a way of scrolling less.
Put in enough thought into everything. The output may not be great, but it should not be for lack of effort. Right? Have an opinion on everything. There is no right or wrong opinion. There is only opinion. So there are things that you know, and then there are things no. एक्चुअली इंग्लिश में वो ठीक से ट्रांसलेट नहीं होता है, हिंदी में. सो आई थिंक इन मराठी एंड हिंदी.
Can mention it in Marathi?
सो हिंदी इज एक्चुअली, सो जानने में और मानने में फर्क है. जानने में सही और गलत होता है, मानने में सब सही होता है और सब गलत होता है.
A more neutral way of looking at it.
बिकॉज तू नहीं, अरिथमेटिक छोड़ के साइंस का जो बेस है, साइंस एंड मैथ्स छोड़ के बहुत कम चीज हम जानते हैं, ज्यादातर हम मानते हैं. राइट. सो 2 + 2 = 4, ये हम जानते हैं, वी नो इट. राइट. बट God exists is a belief. So between knowledge and belief, just understand the difference. And that's where it comes from, right? That's where a lot of the plurality comes from. That everybody has their own beliefs. ठीक है, okay, enjoy, chill करो life में.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So ऐसे नहीं कि अच्छा मतलब, and it's got nothing to do with socioeconomic class. Happens everywhere. Somebody who drinks really good single malt will make fun of some of his friend who drinks single malt with
Soda,
Coke.
water, or water, coda.
with Coke. Right? ठीक है.
Yeah. Life goes on. No?
हाँ मतलब okay, it's a little, you can make fun of them, but just don't hate them for it. So वो it's a very interesting thing, and yeah, have fun. Most important in life is, because daily तुमको once in a week you should have the kind of laughter where you cry, and where पेट पकड़ के हंसो.
The ROFL types.
हफ्तों में, हाँ, एक बार तो हफ्ते में होना चाहिए. तो वो मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट है. अदरवाइज व्हाट इज इट?
I think that's a great place to close this conversation. Thank you so much, Chaitanya.
Oh, most welcome.
Thank you. We'll
Happy to
continue
be.
the conversation on a different note sometime soon.
Sure, definitely.
Okay. Thank you for doing this.
No, most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.